What is going on, everyone? It is Rob and Jonny. Welcome to episode 23 of the MMArcade Podcast. Rob, it happened. What we predicted happened after our podcast last week. I was so annoyed.
Literally, news came out, and it's not like it wasn't little news. It was
Huge.
like so left field. You know, Kamaru Usman fighting
Khamzat
Chimaev.
Yeah.
Khamzat. I almost called him Khamzat. You know, I almost always call him Khamzat anyway.
Yeah. Khamzat.
I don't know why I froze in.
Fiziev. Loving the name.
And to be said, it's also been confirmed that the winner of this fight is going to fight for a title. Isn't that mind-boggling?
We're going to talk about that, bro. Trust me. We're actually going to obviously do our UFC 294 predictions of the co-main and the main. We will start off with Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev because we didn't get the opportunity to talk about that last week. And then we'll get into Makhachev versus Volk 2. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. It's going to be a crazy, crazy episode. Plus a bunch of games news, what we're playing, etc. If you're new, please do subscribe to the podcast. We've really appreciated it. I reckon after this
podcast,
hit
15K.
We'll get to 15K. I think we'll get there after this one, which is pretty sweet.
You know, and that's only a short hop to 150K.
I tell you, just don't get my hopes up, bro.
Tell all your friends, share it. I have gone through the comments, and I am fueled by all the genuine like and whatnot, and just good vibes and good feelings, and just people telling us how much they enjoy the cast and listen to us speak. So thank you very much to everyone that leaves comments like that and likes the videos and subs. It all helps the dream. It helps the dream. And
genuinely.
There's a couple guys that disagreed with me, which I'm going to address this episode. Okay. Don't think I didn't see them. We're going to address them later at the end of the episode.
100%.
But let's get stuck into UFC 294.
Alrighty. So as I said, we'll start off with Usman versus Chimaev. I'll break down both of the fighters. Obviously, you would be aware, but just for the sake of the cast, Usman coming in with a 20-3 record. He's obviously, his last two losses were against Leon Edwards, where he lost the welterweight championship in their first fight. But before then, huge domination. Like we all know what Usman was doing for that run when he had the title, especially wins against Covington, Masvidal, multiple wins against them, Burns, Woodley, etc. But the tricky bit here is that I don't believe he's ever fought at middleweight. So that's the tricky one here. Plus, as well, he's coming with 12 days to turn around. And then obviously we have Chimaev, 12-0 record, undefeated, wins against Holland, Burns, Jingliang, and others. He's actually had, I know some people said he's never fought at middleweight. He's actually had 2 middleweight bouts before this. And obviously some catchweight bouts. So technically he has actually fought at middleweight before. But Rob, let's break this down. Usman versus Chimaev. What are your thoughts, man? What do you think?
Let's get into it. Now, let me start with that. Breakdowns and predictions for fights on short notice is hard. It is very hard to do because, like, honestly, you don't know what you're going to see. You don't know which version of Kamaru Usman is going to be to turn up. Okay, so best I can do is go off the last fight against Leon Edwards. I reckon that's the best I can do is use that Usman as kind of our what's it called? Our
benchmark.
Our benchmark. There we are. Now, you know, on that though, before we go into that, let's talk about the psychology of getting into a short notice fight. Okay. And this also applies to Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volk. The second fight, okay, this is their second fight repeat. So I think this plays a big factor. And I actually saw someone comment in the last post on the last episode about the psychology of the fight. So Kamaru's coming in on short notice. Okay, what does that mean? So we don't know what sort of Kamaru Usman is going to turn up. Let's say presumably he's been training. Okay, it is short notice, but he's fighting up. That's another thing. These two guys are fighting up; they're not fighting down. You'll notice that a lot of times the guys who take short notice fights don't fight down. It's very it's very hard to do that. It's very hard to make these weight cuts, especially at the middleweight division and higher. But Kamaru Usman is fighting up against Chimaev. What does that do? Okay. Obviously, the winner is going to be presented with the title shot. That's what we've heard in the works. Now, Usman has nothing to lose.
No.
really taking this fight. He's not a middleweight. He's not ranked as a middleweight.
Mm-hmm.
If he's been training, and Chimaev really hasn't been, he hasn't been tested. I know there's a lot of talk around the water cooler, that Chimaev hasn't been tested, and we're going to hear that until he is, right? Burns, I thought, was a good test. Holland,
I thought so too. Yeah.
But you also, that fight was close with Burns.
Mm-hmm.
If that was a test fight, that was a close fight against Burns. But then Holland, Holland himself, what I mean? He has good days, he has bad days. I think it really matches up to like styles with him and who he's matching up against. But he's going up against Chimaev. Chimaev's a hard guy. He doesn't really have anything to lose. So that, taking a short notice fight with nothing to lose might give him that bit of freedom he needs to let go of his hands. Moving up a weight division, he's obviously got knockout power because he starched Masvidal that time.
Yeah.
Obviously perfect positioning and timing and yada, yada, yada. But that it might free him up to throw those heavier hands. Okay? So that's just the psychology on that angle of the fight. He doesn't really have anything to lose. Neither does Chimaev in that respect, though. So it might be, they might cancel each other out. But I feel like Chimaev's kind of loose with that anyway. I don't think I don't know. He just doesn't seem to me like the sort of guy that cares too much about that anyway. Yeah.
So my question to you is, how do you think Usman's going to go at middleweight, this being his first fight? Quick turnaround aside, if you can take that out of your mind, how do you think he would fight at middleweight, given his size and the way he's fought before?
Okay. So let's break down this fight stylistically. Stylistically, I think this is a hard fight for Usman. I really do. I think if we're going off the Usman that fought Leon Edwards had a lot of he had a hard time trying to really get into that shooting range.
Yeah.
And really get into that, like trying to dirty up the fight and get it close and kind of turn it doggish against the fence. He had a lot of trouble doing that because of Leon Edwards' great use of range and utilizing those kicks. Chimaev can do that. He can utilize those kicks. He can utilize his range. He's actually a pretty big dude. He's a tall guy. And he has the wrestling to be able to counter Usman better than Leon does. If anything, I think we might see a really good showing of Chimaev. I think all the pieces are in place for Chimaev to really cement himself. Not as a fighter, because he has the rapport. I think this is like another one of those like the Burns win. I think this win against Usman really like staples his name, if that makes sense.
No,
because Chimaev
agree
definitely has the reach. He definitely has the strength and the power. But he's also got that like cardio dogfight wrestling where he's gonna mix in his strikes. He's gonna take you down. He's gonna ride you until you're a little bit slower, then let you back up, then throw some more punches. And he's got range, reach, and spacing the whole time whilst doing it.
Yeah.
I just don't think I see it being very hard for Usman to win this fight against Chimaev. Then that's not saying that he can't, because like I said, if he is feeling free up, nothing to lose, goes in there with a puncher's chance, maybe he clips Chimaev, because we saw Chimaev get hurt in that Gilbert Burns fight.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Usman's looking huge right now. He's
always is,
Usman at the moment, dude. Yeah. No, but like he's looking extra spicy at the moment. Like extra spicy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But in my opinion, I think the reach is going to be too much. Chimaev does use his kicks, which gave Usman trouble against Leon. I don't see Usman's offensive wrestling troubling Chimaev, but I can see Chimaev using his wrestling against Usman, especially, again, considering it's late notice and he's had 12 days to prepare. You can't, unless you've been training constantly with those scrambles and with those wall scrambles and with those wall grinding grappling sessions, you can't build the cardio base you need to be effective in that moment. Yeah.
I'm actually, I really do hope that Usman has a great showing, because I have a lot of respect for him and obviously for Volk taking the fight at such short notice. But I'm very worried this is going to be a very one-sided fight, for Chimaev, because dude, Chimaev is just a freak, and we saw, unfortunately, I thought Usman would have done better in that second fight against Leon Edwards. A lot of us did. I think you and I, Rob, we predicted that Usman would come back and find his way and win. But then he lost the second time, and now you're talking about going up a class and fighting someone like Chimaev, who's undefeated. He was troubled in that fight, as you mentioned. But I just don't see Usman being that guy that can do it, especially on such short notice. I'm worried for him. That's all I'm going to say in this fight.
Yeah, and granted, honestly, I don't have... Is it saying horse in the race? I don't have a horse in the race in this fight, because with Usman fighting a middleweight now and Chimaev fighting a middleweight, they're enemies now. Unfortunately,
I was gonna say, screw them.
Yeah, like not enemies like that. That's too personal. But we're rivals. We're rivals. All middleweights and I are rivals because that's just the name of the game.
Okay.
It's funny though, like the title shot coming out of this, because Chimaev and Usman both aren't ranked as middleweights. So let's say, a win against either for either one of them gets them nowhere, but they fight for a title, and let's say hypothetically they lose that.
Yep.
They don't go to 1, do they?
Bro,
is that a thing?
Now, I have no idea what it does with the ranking. Obviously, the only reason Dana has made that a thing is because he's trying to reward these guys, especially Usman, for taking the fight at such short notice. And also, like, keeping in mind as well, this applies for Makhachev and it applies for Chimaev as well. They have to accept the fight against the new fighter, someone completely different that they haven't trained for. So you have to give a bit of kudos to them. And obviously that's why Dana said, you know what, winner of this goes for the title. I'm sure that would have been a huge factor for Usman taking the fight on such short notice. But yeah, man,
yeah, but you can't really use that point of argument though, because fighters fill in.
I don't agree, bro. I'm just saying. Yeah, I agree. I know.
I mean, all the time. Like replacements happen day before all the time, and you know, title shots aren't being thrown out.
I'm not saying I agree with Dana. To be clear, I'm not saying I agree. I was trying to rationalize it from his perspective, and obviously he wants Chimaev in the title, arena as fast as possible because he sees him being a huge star, right? So I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just rationalizing a little bit. However, I don't agree with it because you're right. What happens to hypothetically, Rob? Let's say Usman won. Where does he go in the rankings? You're going to put him as 1? Like, really? And with no other fights in middleweight, Usman goes to 1. Same argument for Chimaev. It doesn't matter if Chimaev has no losses. It doesn't make sense to put him at 1. So I don't know what it does for the rankings. That's out of the window.
It is funny. The middleweight division right now is it's funny, And then Izzy also came out saying that he's going to have some time away from the game, And
we were all expecting Dricus versus Izzy. That made the most sense.
Yeah.
If Dricus wasn't getting the title opportunity.
Yeah, or what happens to Dricus? That dude, like, you know what I mean?
I honestly don't know, bro.
Beat me somehow, and it's just been forgotten. It's
he really has been, man. It's kind of sad.
Yeah,
I don't know who he fights because you've got.
If he wasn't a middleweight, I'd care more. But and if it wasn't me, he beat. Like, I'd care more.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say because you've got. I'm just pulling up the rankings now. So Izzy's out for a little bit. Izzy said very specifically he's going to be out for a long time, healing up, all that kind of stuff. You've got, I think Cannonier's still going to fight Delidze. Like that's still going to be the fight. Costa, I don't know. Did you see that staph infection on Costa's elbow? That is brutal, dude. He is out for a little bit.
He's a funny dude. And then I saw somewhere that he wants to fight before the end of the year still.
Can I say, Rob, while we're talking about it,
dude,
that makes sense for you as a fight. You're against Costa. I'm just saying. I think it does.
Nah, man. He won't no. Like if I want fights, the UFC will book them. I don't like picking my fights for one.
All right, fair enough.
I picked it. And 2, like he won't even show up. They won't give him to me because
he'll back
we need
out.
fights that can happen, dude. Like
he was already priming the fact that he wasn't going to fight when he was like, but if the doctors say I can't, like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, he gave him out. But let me say though, with Kamaru and Khamzat taking the fight, right? I don't hate them fighting in the middleweight division. I don't hate it. I don't hate them being thrown into the top 5 mix. I don't hate it because it just adds a lot of life to the division, adds new faces to fight. Because it's for a big chunk there, for a couple of years at least, the top 5 were the same unmoving names. And I had fought all of them. It was a tricky spot, and now we've got some movement with Dricus moving and Sean moving, and now Usman and Chimaev in the mix. It's an exciting place to be. So, but anyway, that's for the weekend. Let's see what happens from that. Let's see how the fight goes down. My final prediction is I think Chimaev is going to be too much for Usman, especially short notice. I think Chimaev has a great skill set to negate Usman's best weapons, which is his wrestling and endurance. Short notice, I see Chimaev just out endurancing him, out wrestling, being able to take him into those dogfight type grapples and scrambles, which takes more energy out of him, and definitely utilizing his reach, range, and spacing to touch him up. So Chimaev, I think, wins this fight.
Yeah, I completely agree as well. But all I hope is that Usman has a good showing, and I respect him for doing such a short turnaround in a weight class that he's never fought at.
You got it.
So, second fight that we're talking about, the main event, Islam Makhachev against Alexander Volkanovski. Obviously, it's a rematch. Obviously, they fought at UFC 284. We will talk about that at another time. Okay, we promise. Makhachev won that by unanimous decision. Makhachev is 24-1. Last victory was actually against Volk. Previously, he obviously beat Oliveira to get the lightweight title, and he beat Bobby Green. Yeah, impressively. Beat Dan Hooker before that, etc. Volk 26-2
record.
Everyone. He beat everyone. Well, everyone that he fought. To be fair, there's a few he hasn't fought. And then we got Volk 26-2, dominant victory against Yair Rodriguez. That was still impressive. I still remember him slamming on the mat in my head. That was awesome. Plus 3 victories against Max Holloway, which is no short order. He's a freak. So Volk's obviously been dominating his division, but now he's going to fight Makhachev in a different weight class. Rob, let's break this one down. We talked about it a bit last week, but how do you feel like this is going to go?
Yeah, well, much like I said about the psyche about taking a fight on short notice. I mentioned it with Kamaru Usman and Khamzat Chimaev, but considering they're both unranked middleweights, it doesn't play into as much effect as it does in this fight against Makhachev, because honestly, Alexander Volk, the way he fights, these cardio system that he has, the lung set he has, you don't get that by only prepping 12 weeks out from a fight.
Yeah.
So he's training all year round, always. Okay, so I don't think he had the biggest. I don't think it was sprung on him that he got the shot. It was definitely sprung on him that he got the fight chance, but he would have been training at some point.
Yeah,
he would have been training. Now, going into this fight, short notice, the underdog, 12 days notice.
Yeah,
maybe that frees up Volk's mind to throw his hands a little more, okay? Because I was sitting back and thinking, what can Volk do differently from that first fight, opposed to get the win, to get the nod instead of losing. So, in my opinion, I think he needs to let his hands go a little bit more. He had such success with it, and he looked so dominant when he was moving forward, throwing hands, throwing kicks. Obviously, that comes with the risk of Islam, trying to shoot those takedowns, trying to get under him and, being controlled. Because honestly, if Volk wasn't controlled on the mat that round where he was on his back, and Volk was throwing punches, but he was defending the choke the entire time. If he wasn't controlled that round, then I think Volk might have even won that fight, So it definitely has some risk trying to move forward, trying to be more aggressive with his hands. But in saying that, though, he looked so good when he was moving forward, when he was taking an aggressive stance on his shots, when he was doing his stance switch left hand and then throwing that body kick with his legs. I don't know, he looked really good moving forward. And honestly, Makhachev didn't. He didn't look good when he was moving back. I would like to see more of that from Volk. And maybe him taking this fight on short notice frees his mind up to do exactly that. Maybe because if we look at this fight, he has absolutely nothing to lose. I'm sure he got paid excellent cash to take this fight on short notice. He's got to punch his chance by any means. Mm-hmm. He's always training, so I'm sure he's fit enough for the 5 rounds.
Yeah.
And, he gave – and that's got to play on Islam's mind. 12 days notice, Volk stepping in. Volk gave him his hardest fight to date. Mm-hmm. Volk has nothing to lose. Islam to lose to a guy on 12 days notice looks pretty bad. Yeah. So
so Volk, so he made a statement that when he got the call 12 days out, he weighed 181 pounds. So he needs to cut, 26 or so pounds to get ready for the fight, which is actually wild. So if he goes in there and beats Islam on 12 days notice, cutting down that much, that is I don't know what that does mentally and to Islam's psyche, because that would be a huge loss for him. I think you're absolutely right. Some people disagreed and said that, he actually does have a lot to lose. I agree with you, Rob. I don't think he has much to lose. I think Islam has everything to lose because, he beat him before, but he hasn't had he hasn't had a dominant title reign like Volk has and like John Jones has and other fighters. If he wants to cement his legacy, and I strongly believe Islam can do that, he needs to beat Volk. Because he needs to have a dominant title reign. But kudos to him, he could have had other fights, but he chose to fight someone like Volk, who's a freak. So I have a lot of respect for both of these guys. It's going to be such a good fight. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, Islam's in a tough spot because he's been compared to a likeness of Khabib constantly, and obviously with Khabib in his corner, it doesn't help having that shadow stuck to you. Right?
Constantly talking about him too. Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's not Khabib.
No,
dude. He's not him, and he hasn't had the reign yet that Khabib has. He hasn't beat the names yet that Khabib has. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see how this fight goes. Obviously, there is the fact that I think Islam flying all the way to Australia and then having less time to hydrate.
That's a good point.
And fighting on Sunday during the day, it's very different to where they're fighting now in Abu Dhabi. This is kind of his home turf per se.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very different showing. And now Volk's having to go there 12 days notice. The time zone difference is massive.
Huge.
Massive. So just adapting to that will be interesting in itself. But, mate,
I need a final prediction from you, Rob. No fence sitting on this one.
Is tricky.
It is very hard, but who do you think is actually going to win?
And how does it even go? You try and look at it. Because you look at the fight, and it's hard to say because in that first fight, did Volk hurt Makhachev? You reckon?
No, he 100% did. They both hurt each other. It was a very, very competitive fight. I think in the judges' eyes, and we'll talk about this later, but in the judges' eyes, there was so much ground control and control time from Makhachev's side that it really did affect Volk in those key rounds. And I think Volk defended a lot of those takedowns fantastically, but there were a few lapses in his attention, and that's when Islam struck like a cobra. Volk needs to be careful and not drop his guard and just, I know it's hard, you got to be up at 100% of the time, but that's the thing. He needs to make sure that doesn't happen in one round and then another round and then another round, you know?
If Volk's fit, I don't see him in any danger of the grappling of Makhachev. He trains constantly with Craig Jones. Craig Jones is a phenom at the
Obviously,
game.
Yeah.
Phenom.
Yeah. But did he train with Craig Jones before for the first fight? I don't know. No,
he did.
Well, there you go. It's and Makhachev was still pretty successul in taking him down. So this is a very hard one to predict.
Measure it. It's hard.
I know you like.
You know
Volk.
what I mean?
No,
it's like he had Volk's back, but wasn't able to do anything with it for 4 minutes. It's success. Right?
We will talk about it, but I need a prediction from you. I need a prediction from you.
Oh, mate, I'm getting there. I can see this. like I said, with late notice fights, it's so hard. It's so hard because we don't know whether we're going to see Volk at his peak level fitness or if we're going to see a Volk that is fit but not Volk fit and had to cut 26 pounds in 12 days.
Yeah. But also Volk, when he's at Volk fitness, he is a fucking swimmer. So regular Volk would still be very high comparative to everyone else. He's still going to have crazy cardio.
You can't slow down in the scrambles against Makhachev.
For sure.
If you start to slow down, get tired by half a second, you're getting put into bad positions and he's going to beat you up.
So dare I say, Rob, not because you don't think Volk would otherwise win this fight, but because of the short turnaround, fighting someone like Makhachev on such short notice and cutting so much weight, that might be the deciding factor. And ultimately, it's not out of Volk's hands because he took the fight, but there's nothing much he can do within 12 days, and that might cost him the fight.
Well, I can also see Volk just turning this into a slugfest because of that. Maybe he just throws heavy hands and lands him on Makhachev.
But I don't think Makhachev's going to allow that. I genuinely don't.
He's not going to, but I'm sure Volk done so much work. I'm sure he can stuff the first few takedown attempts of Makhachev.
Sure.
And if Makhachev gets too free, he's going to get caught. I think a heavier Volk, Volk's got enough power to hurt him. We saw that in the first fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, this is tricky. So many variables, because you don't know what Volk's going to turn up because you don't know what he's been doing.
I'm going to say this, all right, and this is how I'm going to play, both sides of the field. But if this was Volk with a full training camp and learning what he did against the first fight, he had plenty of time to train and he didn't have to cut in such short notice, I'd 100% back Volk to win. But unfortunately, given the circumstances, the huge time zone difference, I struggle going anywhere from Australia overseas on a holiday, and I couldn't imagine trying to do that fighting someone like Makhachev, right? I unfortunately have to back Islam on this because I think it's a tall order for anyone. Even though he's Volk, it's going to be very, very difficult. So that's who my prediction's going to be.
Yep. And if I'm going Volk via knockout. I reckon Volk's going to get a knockout.
All right.
And knock Makhachev out. For one, it would be un-Australian of me to pick anybody else, all right? And I
want Volk to win too.
I will not do that to my countrymen, okay? But also, you know what? We have seen some crazy upsets this year.
We have.
We've seen some weird stuff, and the year's not over. Maybe there's some voodoo in the air. I think short 12 days Volk gets it done, creates a legacy that'll go down in history.
Volk to win, Usman to win. Upset card of the year. Let's see.
No, Usman. No, I said Chimaev to.
I know you did, but could you imagine? Could you imagine the reaction?
Usman wins. That would
both of them. It'd be insane,
mate. Well, mate, that'd be too much for me to handle. That's another episode.
It'd be a hell of an episode of MMArcade for sure. So let us know in the comments below your predictions for both of the co-main and the main. Very keen to see what you think. We really do read every comment, and that's why we're responding to you throughout. But Rob, that is it for UFC 294. Our predictions and breakdown. Alrighty, so next up, we've got some games news to talk about. Bit of a relatively quiet week, Rob. Certainly not for PlayStation, though. They've got Marvel's Spider-Man 2 coming out this week, I think, very, very soon. Yep. Reviews have come out. 91 on OpenCritic. This seems like a genuine banger, and it's been a while since the devs had their last 90-plus score. I think it was a Ratchet & Clank game, Insomniac beforehand. But it's looking really, really good. Rob, I want to know, are you going to be playing Marvel Spider-Man 2? It seems like a good game.
To a degree, okay. My son has had a calendar up on his fridge every day, crossing out with an X for the next Spider-Man game. He is so pumped, so pumped. He knows it comes out in 2 days, and I think through him, I'm going to be playing it. You know,
are you just going to watch him or actually join in?
Oh, he won't let me have a go. He's a little bit hard, just like his dad.
Yeah.
But, he'll need a hand with some of the puzzles, maybe, and I'll be there. But I've always got a soft spot for the Spider-Man games because I remember the first one, it is so freeing to be able to swing around the city like that. It is such a cool thing. Thing.
And I'm really pumped for it because I actually didn't play the first new Spider-Man, but I did play Miles Morales. And it was obviously a fairly contained game, not too long, but it was just so much fun. I completely 100%ed it. I don't know why I had such satisfaction playing Miles Morales, and I'm pumped for the new game. I'm pumped to see.
I didn't like Miles Morales.
Really? Why not?
Even my son didn't really like it that much. Like the first one was.
No. Why?
No, you got to play the first one, dude.
I know.
Good.
Yeah. But at the very least, story-wise, I know what's going on. I know I understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And apparently the new one's better than the first. That's what I hear.
Well, you'd hope so, but
yeah,
they rarely are. They rarely live up to that title, but we'll see.
Only because we all have our nostalgia goggles on. We all love the first of anything, and the second always struggles to follow up for that reason.
Yeah, but the first one wasn't that long ago. Like my son still turns it on. Like,
yeah, but it was years ago now. Hold on.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Software
hasn't changed that much.
2018, so it's not like 5 years ago, but nothing like crazy long. But it did get the remake or the remaster on PlayStation 5, I believe. I have to play it, but I don't know. I'm just gonna play the sequel first because it's coming out. Everyone's excited to play it, and if I really like it, then I'll go back and play the first and see how it compares. That's my plan.
No,
there's just too many games.
Do that.
Why not?
Can't retro game. No, you got to start with the first one.
I can do what I want, and I'll enjoy myself doing it. Dude, I don't want to.
You don't find it hard to go backwards in graphics?
Not at all. Not at all. I will go back and play Fallout 3 happily, even with the graphics. I don't care. Graphics don't matter to me, bro. Bro, you play top-down isometric games with terrible graphics.
Yeah, but I don't go from isometric games to like Pong. You know what I mean?
I'm sure you would if something interesting came up.
I don't go backwards in time. You know,
dude, we're talking 5 years,
In saying that, I have done that. I did it with Dark Souls. I started with Dark Souls 3 and I went to 2 and then I went to 1.
There you go.
And it looks, yeah.
Look, there are some games where you shouldn't do it. I'll give an example. Don't do it with The Witcher. Don't play Witcher 3 and be like, I'm going to play Witcher 1 because you're going to have a bad time. But the first Spider-Man wasn't released too long ago. Like the graphics still hold up, especially because of the remaster on PlayStation 5 or the remake, whatever you call it. So yeah, I'm going to be playing it. Rob, you're going to be playing it through your son. So it would be interesting to know what you think that's like, because that's how I used to play games. I used to watch like my brother or my cousin play games on the TV. Best time I ever had as a kid was watching them play.
I know everything about Spider-Man 1 because of that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, I can do those little electrical puzzles in my head. I still remember them. I can recreate them, dude. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be good.
Coming out in a few days. Let us know if you're going to be playing in the comments below. Next up, we've talked about.
Who's your favorite Spider-Man character?
Oh, can I say Venom? It is Spider-Man universe, right?
Yeah.
Venom's cool.
Probably Venom, yeah.
Yeah.
But like movie Venom or Venom?
No, Venom.
I feel like comic book Venom was different than the movie Venom that came out.
I like movie Venom.
The movie Venom was cool, but the movie was sick. But I feel like he was different in the comics.
Yeah. Tom Hardy is pretty good as well.
He was way more evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Really good.
But
really good.
Who's the
tell you what I hate, Hobgoblin. He's annoying.
Hobgoblin?
Hobgoblin.
I need to refresh my memory.
Oh, you know what Hobgoblin is?
Yeah.
Dude, it's like there's the orange one and the green one.
Yeah.
I can't remember why they. I remember fun. Here we go. Let's go on a tangent.
Go on.
I remember when I was in year 3 or year 2 or something like that. My friend brought this cool toy to school, Hobgoblin toy. It was amazing. It had the glider and everything. Like, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I stole it out of his bag. Like straight up stole it. And I remember sitting in class and just the guilt eating me up.
Oh no.
And just knowing I had done something terrible and I confessed.
At least you confessed and you gave it back. It shows you what kind of person you are, Rob.
Yeah, dude.
Good on you.
But I wanted it so bad. So bad.
But now you have adult money. Now you can go back and buy it if you really want to.
Yeah. Now what do I want toys for?
You display them in the background, like in.
Just gonna play with them on my desk like this. Pow, pow, pow.
No, they're collectibles. They're not toys. They're collectibles.
Although I will say I do play toys with my kids sometimes, but it always just ends up in like a punch up. Like I have to have the strongest one. No, he has to have the strongest one. No, I'm not playing with him right, and then I just end up doing stupid things, and then they get the shits and we're fighting.
It's like playing board games. There's never a happy winner at the end because it always ends up in a fight.
I feel like sometimes I only had kids to annoy them. Like, I love it. But I'm sorry, I sidetracked us.
It's all good. It's all good.
Where were we?
The next topic, we've talked about this a few times, so we won't dwell on it. But finally, Xbox has acquired Activision-Blizzard. It is done. It is all approved. The interesting thing coming from this, Rob, is that it seems like they're not going to be putting Activision-Blizzard games onto Game Pass straight away. Sounds like they're going to be waiting until next year. Phil Spencer has said he wants to take a bit more of a respectful approach with their titles. And obviously it's a tricky one because you have so many PlayStation players invested in those games and in that universe. How do you feel about that, Rob? Like, you don't have Game Pass, do you? Or you might.
No, my kids do.
Yeah,
my
kids
do.
3 kids.
I technically do to a degree.
Yeah.
Like, Game Pass is great for kids because they can just
play whatever.
Get new games every day. Every day there's something new they can muck around with. So
it's an interesting
like I
one.
said, I think this is a big milestone for Xbox taking over the world. I think it's a great step for Xbox
world domination
to slowly consume the entire industry. Like,
it will be
can't
a
wait to see
game
Xbox
changer.
eat Disney up.
Dude, it's going to be a game changer once Diablo, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, like you keep listing games. Once they're all eventually on Game Pass, it is going to be a monster of a subscription service. But I will say, yeah, go on, go on.
No, please.
We both had an I will say moment. I remember yours. Don't forget it.
Give me will say.
I will say, however many $1 billion it costs to acquire Activision Blizzard, once those games start going onto Game Pass, expect to see a price increase. There's just no way. There is literally zero chance that Game Pass stays the same price because it cost them so much to make this acquisition. I don't think they're going to make enough in terms of new subscribers to Game Pass purely from the fact that there are Activision Blizzard games there, especially if they're releasing them so slowly. They're going to have to increase the price at some stage. I'm betting on it. Within a year, it'll increase. So what was your have to say?
I feel like Blizzard needs Game Pass, something like that. I feel like the direction Blizzard has been going for the last several years, their titles, whilst nostalgic and whilst iconic and, they have that cult following of forever, I feel like they have been slowly declining for a long time. Yeah. And like with the cult obviously just hanging back. And to be able to bring the newer audience, like especially like the younger audience, if you would. Because a lot of guys that play WoW, they're not this decade. You know what I mean? They're like 20 years ago people, 30 years ago people. I feel like they need that Game Pass injection to be able to just get the titles out to everyone that'll have them, just to change things up. I think it'll help the player base. I think it'll help change. It'll just change up the culture maybe a little bit, perhaps. I don't know, for better or worse. We'll wait to see. But I also think all of them being together, we can only see things moving in a positive direction for Blizzard games. Like,
I will say that I think Xbox is going to run rampant through the culture of Activision Blizzard. And I in terms of Blizzard, I think it does come from the top down, from corporate and from Activision specifically. I think hopefully Phil Spencer is going to fix all that up. And the beauty of Game Pass is that it really does give their devs the freedom to more so make the games that they want and not the games that they think will sell at $60 US. Or $70 US now. Game Pass makes it a bit more flexible, and I hope that means the decision that devs like Blizzard make now aren't so tied to the corporate goals that Activision-Blizzard had before. It was, and I'm not going to like name names or anything, but I hope Xbox is able to make those changes because Blizzard is struggling. Change, like especially with like you look at Overwatch 2 and the decisions that they've made with that. Even with Diablo, people are really upset at the moment. I hope they turn it around, and I think they will. They've got so many brands and IPs at their disposal now. I think this was a very, very good time for Activision Blizzard to be acquired, and probably the best company out there to do it. I couldn't imagine if it was like Disney or Tencent or Apple or someone like that, it would have been even worse. Of all the corporate overlords, Xbox is probably one of the better ones out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're kind of for the gamers.
And that's pretty much it, Rob, in terms of the game news. Moving on to our next segment, what we've been playing, watching, and reading. Rob, have you been playing, watching, or reading anything this week? Or you've been stuck in training?
I haven't. So I'm kind of like just floating around with books. I picked up a book that holds my interest to finish it, but it's nothing worth recommending just yet. I'm waiting for some more bigger titles. Did see someone comment that they picked up Furies of Calderon.
Yep.
And they thanked me. It's a good book. If you like the whole premise of Avatar, but you want something more adult, check out Furies of Calderon. It's sick. And there's a ton of books. Like you'll get a lot of good reading out of it.
Yeah.
Haven't started on the new season of anime just because there aren't enough episodes. Like I've got to have at least 4 before I start watching it weekly, right?
Yeah.
But I have been playing something different. I've been playing the last couple of days Lords of the Fallen.
We've got a question about that. Excellent. All right. Rob, what do you think? And I want to highlight the question now because David Henty 8760 did ask, are you guys going to play Lord of the Fallen? Looks really good, comes out this Friday. Obviously, that question was asked last week. It's out now. Yep. Rob, how is it? How is it?
Mate, it's good. It's really good. I think if you're a fan of, say, Dark Souls 3, you'll like it. You'll like Lords of the Fallen. I don't think it's quite as good as Elden Ring.
Yeah.
If we're looking at it, obviously not through a setting or scene or anything like that, mechanics-wise. I don't think it's as good as Elden Ring, but I do think it's as good as Dark Souls 3, even mechanically to a degree.
Wow.
I think it might look better in some regard, just due to armor and the way they've got certain pieces moving and whatnot. I think it might look a little cooler. There are a couple of mechanics. Like you can tell Lords of the Fallen, and I didn't look this up, but I'm sure they would have had to have mentioned it's heavily inspired from the Dark Souls games and stuff because like they have like same things. Like it's almost identical. Like even the remembrances of bosses and the souls and bonfires, it's all kind of identical. I think it's good. I haven't gotten too far into it, so my general thing of when I play these Dark Souls games is I pick the worst class and then just run my absolute hardest through the levels. I don't kill anything. I don't stop. I don't do anything. I'm zooming around at 200 degrees, like trying to loot everything and run as fast as I can until I hit the first boss. Trying to beat the first boss with buckets was hard. Okay, the condemned class that I started with has buckets for hands, like on his hands, I should say. Christ. And so I was trying to punch on with the first boss. That was annoying, but nothing too crazy. I'm not too far into the game just yet. Yeah. I read a couple of the reviews on Steam, and I didn't. Some people are saying that it's clunky and the dodge mechanics. I didn't feel it. Like obviously, it's not. If you're going from Elden Ring to this, you're going to feel some discrepancies. But I don't know. Have a week off and then come back. It's not too bad. Like if you start working your way backwards through Dark Souls, you feel clunk. Like, when I went from Dark Souls 3 to 2 to 1, like there's some clunk. Like, I don't even think like Dark Souls 1. I'm pretty sure only has like 8 directions you can roll in. It's like hard locked. I don't know. It was weird. It was fun though. It was fun. Once you get past that and you get used to it a little bit, it's pretty good. I think it's more forgiving than Dark Souls. Like I don't find it as hard to a degree. Like I got through the first boss and the second boss with just punching with buckets, and it wasn't so hard. Granted, they're not super hard bosses, but I feel like the iframes you get through dodging is pretty easy. I feel like the iframes you get with parrying is massive. Felt like a god at one point just parrying everything. But I don't know. It's fun. I really enjoy it, to be honest. Like thus far, I'm enjoying it. I haven't had a lot of time to play with it, but I'm enjoying it.
I honestly, it was not the reaction I expected, because I saw the reviews, and not just on Steam, but also OpenCritic and Metacritic. They're not the best for the game. They're at 69 at the moment. I know that there are performance issues, especially. I don't know. I think it was Xbox that had it, or they had to delay it on Xbox or something like that. I haven't played the game. I haven't looked too closely into it, but yeah, things that weren't looking the best in the review department for the game. So it's interesting that you do say that, Rob. But you do love From Software style games, so I can understand.
Yeah, like there aren't many of them.
No, that's
to
not.
be honest.
Yeah,
and I think this guy jumping into that realm where like FromSoft are so big, they're titans in that genre. No one can come close to them. And I think, like, you know what they've done? They've gone like, okay, if it ain't broke, let's not fix it. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's just try to reskin it in our own flavor. Let's create something, but to our taste, to our style. And I think they've done that.
Yeah, okay.
I think, I don't know. I think maybe people's expectations were a bit high, because obviously with Elden Ring being first and forefront in that area, people think that another person entering the competition is competing with that game, and that's not the case. I think they're just trying to hit their own sort of niche market, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. We've spoken on it before many times. I think gamers are very, very picky. Like, I think they're picky. Like the developers have already done, I think, 2 or 3 patches.
Yeah.
And it's been out for 4 days. Like, and they're already fixing bugs and glitches that some people are trying to do, putting up YouTubes on, just breaking the game.
Did you expect anything different?
But they're kind of becoming like parasites, you know what I mean? They don't do things in good nature anymore. I feel like even the people on Steam sometimes they're not giving their opinions. They're just really trying to put shit on people or put shit on a game and developers. Like, these guys have dedicated hundreds of hours and love and time into a game to these people, and they jump on, it goes playtime of 35 minutes, and they just give it a shit review and like hammer it. And I think, like, dude, who are you?
I really do think
to be criticizing things this heavily. Like, what's your background? You know what I mean? I don't know. It gets me really riled. I'm starting to get mad because
I understand.
Relax. It's day one. It's day one. All right. If you don't like it, how about you just refund it and shut your mouth? All right. There's no need to write a whole spiel on why it's bad. Okay. Granted. Okay. If it's like people are complaining about the multiplayer, all right, you can say multiplayer isn't working. Hope they fix it. Interested, like, you can do it nice. You don't have to be a prick about things. I feel like people sometimes are just taking the chance and opportunity to put people down, to put shit on people, and I think that's a terrible thing to do. I feel like society has just get caught up too much into that style of doing things. Just went on a massive rant.
No, you did. But look, I will be real with you. I understand it. I think we're very much in a culture now, and it's fueled by, you know, Twitter being like, people can make money from Twitter, and people want to get a lot of likes and clicks on the internet. Unfortunately, it's the either extremes that usually get the most attention. It's either, this is game of the year, this is amazing, listen to what I have to say, or it's, this game is shit. And either side usually gets a lot of clicks. It's unfortunately, it's never really the constructive middling argument that gets pushed to the top in terms of the algorithm and gets a lot of views. It's the same on Twitter, it's the same on YouTube, and it's the same on Steam reviews as well. And I think no doubt that partly makes people a little bit harsher or a little bit more favorable in their reviews either way. So I'm sure that there are people that, have genuinely had a bad experience with this game. But I agree. Don't be a dick about it. It's frustrating.
Yeah, it is frustrating. And like, it is what it is.
Fair enough.
It is what it is. I feel like the gamer community, though, has been slowly shifting toxically of late. In like the last few years, I feel like the gamer culture has slowly turned toxic for some reason. And I think we need to nip that in the bud. If you're listening to this review and you're one of those guys, just think about it. That's all. Just think about it. If it's not you, it's not you. Like, you just do you, but think about it.
Fair enough. In terms of me, I haven't been playing anything.
Anyway, I liked
really.
it, but long story short.
I haven't been playing anything this week, really. The thing that I've been doing is picking up back Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. Rob, it's really good. You dropped it at the worst possible time. It is like the fun animations, everything is amazing. When you get past the flashback episodes.
They disrespected me.
Oh, come on. Just get past the flashback episodes. Get past the one slice of life episode. The one where he's like wanting to date this girl. The girl wants to date him, whatever. And then get past that because
you told me there's a slice of life episode past the 3 episodes of flashback?
I tell you what, that did annoy me because I was I genuinely was like, what is this?
How dare you? How dare you disrespect
I'm just saying,
me like that?
Get past it. Get past it because it's
You're
good.
telling me to get past 2 hours of bullshit to start watching something interesting? No,
I'm
dude.
sure you've done I'm sure you've watched worse, Rob. I'm sure you put up with worse. Don't lie to me.
Yeah, but I'd like to think that I've dedicated 20 plus years to anime and anime culture. I've watched everything and everything in between. Okay, I've seen a lot of good stuff, a lot of really bad stuff, a lot of really weird stuff. Okay, and you want to hit me season 2 with, for one, a movie you didn't tell me about, and 3 flashbacks, and then a slice of life episode. Brother, no, dude. Jujutsu Kaisen. See you later.
So now we're moving on to viewer questions. If you have your viewer questions, of course, as always, let us know in the comments below. But Rob, first one, this is another big news that happened after all the Usman stuff and Volk stuff. But Master Spencer 2483 asks, Rob, what are your thoughts on the UFC ending its partnership with USADA? And obviously now they're partnering with the Drug Free Sport International Group. Rob, what did you think?
Mate, I don't know. Now, I've looked at some interviews and articles on both sides of USADA and UFC. It's the way USADA did it made UFC look super dodgy. And then
I agree.
And then when you look at it from UFC's side, it's like, no, you painted them in the worst possible light. So I don't know. I'm happy to hear that, Drugs Free Sport International is jumping in. I think as long as it's not controlled by the governing company of like the fighters, because that can get a little bit hairy and obviously doesn't look super, super, super legit. But yeah, there needs to be testing in the sport. If you look at the history books and you look at the certain fighters and you look at trajectories of fighters once the companies came in and when they weren't, it's there. It works. It does work. Okay. And I think to keep everyone on the same sort of playing field, and that's not to say that there aren't going to be people who still cheating and getting around that, but that's on them. They got to sleep with that overnight time. Yeah. But it's just a part of the sport. Like I wasn't particularly attached to USADA. It's not like, oh no, why USADA?
Fair enough.
I'm glad I got the testing jacket before they bounced.
Fair enough. The next question that we have, I really like this question because as a fan of Dragon Ball, I really can't wait to nip this in the bud. But Regent Statue 745 asks, who do you think wins between Goku and One Punch Man? So I'm going to say this, Rob, as I am an avid Dragon Ball supporter. Like I love that. One of my favorite anime of all time because of my childhood. One Punch Man smokes Goku. Let's be real. One Punch Man is a character that is very much intended to be overpowered from the get-go and can defeat most of the people that he fights within 1 or 2, sometimes slightly more punches. Okay? Goku would be exploded in the first serious punch that One Punch Man throws. That is just the reality. I don't care if it's Ultra Instinct Goku, however many power-ups that he has. It has to be One Punch Man just because that's the kind of character that he was written to be. And I love Goku. So that's my answer to that. Rob?
2 things. I do think there is that whole thing about One Punch Man. I think that like One Punch Man's power is just being stronger than everybody else. Like no matter what. I think that is his power. because he's a parody character, right?
He is.
But I'm pretty sure I've gone down the rabbit hole of who would win fights like plenty of times.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Goku has like an ability that can make things just disappear. Like make parody stuff like that just disappear, like non-exist anymore.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
I'm pretty sure he's got like an anti that thing power. I've seen it pop up multiple times.
You're going to have to send me the link to that because I don't know what you're talking about.
If you guys know what I'm talking about, please comment below about Goku having a special ability that kills parody characters because I don't know. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere on
Reddit.
In a chat group. Somewhere on Reddit. Like deep in the bowels of Reddit. But yeah. Yeah, that's my answer.
All right, Rob.
All right.
We've got to do it. Last episode that we recorded for the podcast, this was by far the biggest talking point in the comment section, and we really need to nip it in the bud in this episode, in this video. So many people asked, I'm just pulling one person's question. At Walking Desecration asks, Volk versus Islam 1 was a great fight, but it feels like it was pretty clear. It was a pretty clear decision, though. What rounds beyond the 5th did you guys think Volk won? So let's just put it this way, Rob. Seriously, objectively, who do you think won that first fight between Volk and Islam, and why?
Oh, mate, I think Islam won. I do, but I don't think it would have been like a crazy uproar if Volk got the nod either. Okay, that's how I feel. I think Islam did enough to win the fight, but I also think Volk did enough to win the fight. It's just Islam got the nod, sort of thing.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
No, it does.
Hope it does.
I actually did watch it because thankfully UFC put it up as a free fight 3 weeks ago. I rewatched it specifically for this question, and first of all, very, very close fight. All right, like this is as close as a fight could get, and it was freaking phenomenal. This is how I would say that it went down, okay? I thought round 1 was so close only because they spent the first freaking 2 minutes or whatever feeling each other out, right? So that inherently makes it a very tough round to judge because there's a shorter amount of time to judge from. 2 was easily Makhachev, I would say. I thought round 3 was definitely more of a toss-up. I could see someone saying that was Volk and someone saying that was Makhachev. I would say, personally, I went with Volk. Easily round 4 was Makhachev, and obviously round 5 was definitely Volk. I would say it comes down to rounds 1 and 3, depending upon where you would go. If I was judging that, I would probably have gone, because I like Volk, I don't know, maybe I'm being biased here. I think I would have given round 3 to Volk, but either round 1, either it's Makhachev wins round 1, or it's a draw, because Makhachev did take Volk down, but he didn't do much with the ground control that he had. I didn't see him doing that much damage in the first. But equally, Volk did get some shots off on Makhachev, but he didn't do all that much either. There was nothing much in the first round. So it's a really hard flip of the coin. It's rounds 1 and 3, which are the ones that throw me off. So that's how I saw it. I don't know. I would say Makhachev won, though.
That's a good look.
Yeah.
That's a good look.
So let us know in the comments below. I know we said that we support Volk. You have to understand, anytime there is an Aussie fighter, an Aussie sports team, we will support them to the death just because we are Australian. And we have our green and gold goggles on. It's a thing. I'm just saying, it's a thing. Next question that we have is from What's That Big Matt? I think that's what it is. What's That Big Matt? Asks, Oliveira fights for the BMF belt / interim versus Justin. Let's forget about the BMF belt. It's a joke. But interim title against Justin? What do you think about that, Rob?
How? The title's getting fought for.
Let's say it was the number 1 contendership. I don't know. Yeah, I know. I agree. You can't make it the interim.
He fought Justin already.
Yeah, I guess they are asking, what does Oliveira do now? What does Oliveira do?
Oliveira just chills. He waits.
Well, surely he just gets the next title shot, right? He's in line. He didn't do anything specifically to like intentionally pull out of the fight or anything. He unfortunately got a cut above his eye in training. he gets the next shot.
Yeah, I can also see them putting him. Against someone else though, like making him fight again, maybe.
Like who?
I can.
Who would he fight?
Make him fight someone else.
He's fought everyone.
I don't know, that's a whole episode in itself, mate.
It absolutely is. Last question that we have. Yeah. I laughed so hard when I saw this from Misty and Bonnie. What's Rob drinking from that bucket?
Are you talking about this?
Your freaking gallon over there. It's water. It's
just water, mate. It's just ice cold water. Ice cold water.
I think they're poking fun at the way you drink it.
6 months, past 6 months. Yeah. Well, what's the correct way of drinking this? Look at the friggin' size of the thing. What's supposed to do?
Most people wouldn't drink from that. That's the point, Rob. That's the.
I need to stay hydrated. How do you think I get my complexion to look like this, mate?
That's a good point.
Hydration, brother.
Good for the skin.
Good for the skin. Good for the soul.
Absolutely. And that was it. That was the last question. That was episode 23 of the MMArcade podcast. I'm letting you all know now, we have a bunch of errors coming up in this podcast. If this goes live, this has been a miracle for us to resurrect this podcast.
Yeah.
Touch all the wood. Hopefully we can save it.
Not looking good. Before we finish up, though, there is one more thing I want to bring up. Okay. And one of our viewers commented, was upset with my take on hard copies of video games. Did you see that, Jonny?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. Go on.
He's upset. He goes, the gaming, the game, or whatever they're called, like Steam and stuff, they can just take your games away. And I was thinking to myself, like, who cares? Like, you know what? Who cares? That's not enough. I'm not threatened enough by Steam suddenly just taking all my games away for me to go build a bloody wardrobe here and start ordering hard disks. Let alone, like, a lot of those disks won't even work without internet. You know, don't be so attached to things. The convenience is much greater than the threat of losing the video games. And you never, like, can you imagine if a company, like, I know that's always in their minds, like, oh, but they can suddenly just not let you play games. When are they ever going to just not let you play games? When? Like, can you imagine if one day they just said, nah, all sites over, all your games are ours, you're done. Screw yous, we're done. Like,
what they would do.
There'll be guys with pitchforks.
Yeah, but what they would do, this is usually what happens, unless you get banned from Steam. Like, I agree, Steamers or Ubisoft or Xbox are not just going to take your game from your library specifically. But what they would do, and it's been done often, is just not sell a game anymore. So then there is no other way to play a particular game unless you manage to download it at some stage or you do have the physical copy. There's been a few instances of games just being removed from the Steam store or from the Xbox store. Big thing with Nintendo shutting down the 3DS, virtual store. You can't get any of those games anymore. There's just no way.
If you own it though, you
have
there.
It. No, 100%. If you own it, you have it.
No,
do you remember that story?
I know this firsthand.
Yeah.
No, I know this firsthand because there was a game I watched a reviewer play called Nobody, The Turnaround. It's like, it's a crazy game. Everybody, look it up. Nobody, The Turnaround, okay? Can't buy it on Steam. I'm pretty sure it got embargoed or whatever, but it's like a Chinese life sim. It's crazy. It's so much fun, dude. But anyway, and I was so pumped to play it because I watched the stream play it. All you do is you just go to like a third-party site, get the code, and then plug it into Steam, and you got it. It's like Bob's your uncle.
So you're encouraging piracy, Rob. That's what you're doing.
No, it wasn't. No, it's a Steam code that someone else bought that you bought off them. Obviously, I don't know if that's even legal, but
key resellers, very, very grey area. But also, no, Steam could absolutely say if all codes are out there that haven't been redeemed yet, they're all cancelled. And Steam codes do expire. Game codes do expire within a certain number of time.
I know this.
Yeah.
I know this.
No. You aren't going to convince people with your argument, Rob. It's not going to happen. Some people just want their physical games. It's the thing.
It will. Brother, just let it go. Just let it go. It's so freeing being just on the cloud. Just join the cloud. It's free. You can
Rock
play
in a
games
hard
from
place.
anywhere on any device at any time. It's like you need to just release yourself from the physical constraints of things like games and things and items. You know, just cruise out. Who cares? And okay, let's say hypothetically, worst thing in the world happens. Steam says, screw all you guys, and deletes and disappears with all your games. Okay.
Right.
I understand it's going to suck.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? Roll over and cry? No, you just pick up a new game or just go outside for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, you work it out. It's not the be all end all. It'll be okay.
No,
trust me, I love games.
Yeah. People are just going to pull out the physical discs if they have them and play them on their physical discs. That's what they're going to do, Rob. The people that were savvy enough to buy the games on discs and physically, we're not going to get anywhere with this argument. People are just against, like, they want their physical discs. They're collectors, whatever.
And what's to stop me from just being like, okay, the game company's down, and just going on eBay and just buying one up?
But that's their point, Rob. That's their point, because game devs and publishers, some of them moving on where they're not releasing their games physically anymore. And it's a bad thing if those stores are ever shut down, and they've happened before, or the games just aren't being sold for whatever reason. So I can understand if people want to keep their physical discs, but for me and for you, we just don't do that. Like, in my storage right now, I have a bunch of old Xbox 360 games. I'm never going to touch those discs ever again. So it's just not me. But I know some people that would. So fair enough.
You know, I feel like the people that are complaining, I feel like just haven't had to live with memory cards. Do you not remember how bad that was?
Yeah.
How bad life was back then when you used to have to use memory cards. Oh, mate, what rough times. What rough times they were. And with that, episode 23, I'm out. I'm done.
Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening, and we'll see you in the next episode if we can save it, all right? You take care.